Hello, my dear friend. I believe you're from Estonia. Madix, I think it's your name. Well, at least that's how we get it over here. But if I'm wrong, please correct me. And well, I'm delighted to do this video for you because I had the privilege of riding an amazing horse called Airborne Montecillo. He was truly an amazing horse. A horse of a lifetime for me. And I'm currently doing a documentary on him. Unfortunately, it's in Spanish, but maybe eventually we'll come out with a book in English and in Spanish, because this horse was truly amazing. Now, what was amazing about this horse? Well, I can name several things. First of all, he was a very generous horse. He was a sweet horse. He was a stallion, but he always behaved very well. He was never rough or rugged or never a rogue. When I started with him, we had a rough moment when I started working with him, but that was only because he didn't trust people. Once I got his trust, this horse would die for me, would truly die for me. I mean, he was so noble, so generous. That was I would say, one of the most important things. Another thing is he was a pleasure to ride. I mean, I could ride him for hours. His gaits were so soft. He never pounded the ground. You know how some horses you can hear when they canter, you can hear how they hit the ground. Not Airborne. Airborne it was like he was floating on the ground. He would never wear you out. He would never wear you out. His movements were so soft, so relaxed, so elastic, that he was really a pleasure to ride. He was easy to ride. He was very easy to ride. At least for me, he was easy to ride. Now, I must say that this horse, at the moment, I'm talking 1994, 1995, was a huge sensation all over the world. Not just Mexico. He started being a sensation in Mexico. Then he was a sensation in the United States of America, and then he became a sensation in Europe because this horse was a true winner. Now, what I felt as a rider is, if he knew that this competition was important for me, and this happened early when I started riding him. I remember his first major competition was a derby that we had, a jumping derby that we had here in Mexico at the French Club. The French Club, it was an organization that used to host horse shows, and they had a big ring and they had a jumping derby. And I remember it was so important for me, that derby, to win that derby, because it was a point in my life when I was trying to make room for me. And this horse, Airborne, he felt my energy. He felt that I really wanted this win, and he gave me more. And this is very special. I've had a few horses that can do that, but none like Airborne. But I have failed horses. I have had horses that can feel your energy when it's important to you, and they try harder. They do more. They try harder. This is, to me, so special, because then you go to the show and you know the horse is going to be he's going to be there for you. He's going to try for you. If he knows it's important for you, if something is important for you, the horse will know it and he'll try for you. This is definitely the biggest asset a competition horse can possibly have. Airborne for sure had that. He for sure had that. When it was important for me, he would try harder. I could feel he would just buff up and, transform himself into a stronger, more attentive horse. Another thing that would happen at Airborne is, the first time we were in front of a big crowd. The first time we were in front of a big crowd, it was in the Grand Prix of Newport in Rhode Island. He placed second that time. It was his first Grand Prix in his life. And this was a big Grand Prix in the States, in the United States, in Newport, Rhode Island. And that was the first time he saw a crowd. And when he saw the crowd, I mean, I could feel he expanded himself, and he tried hard. He liked being watched. He liked being a star. He could sense the people watching him, and he liked that. And that made him better. It really made him better. Years later, when I had the privilege of meeting John Whitaker, who I always admired, and of course, you know, Milton and John Whitaker was like a love story and a fairy tale story, and I like to think that I had the next Milton, right? Because Airborne was white and he had charismatic, kind of like Milton, and so one day I talking to John Whitaker, well, he said the exact same thing. He said, you know, Milton, when he saw a crowd, he'd expand. He would expand. He would love being watched. He would love the attention, and he could feel that. And I think horses can feel that because, you know, horses are prey animals. So a horse knows when he's being watched. A horse can sense when he's being watched, for better or for worse. He can sense that. But in the case of Airborne, he loved being watched. He loved the attention. And when he had the attention, he would show his quality. He would show his best. Truly a magnificent horse. I want to mention my teacher and mentor was George Morris. George Morris, I went to him in 1994 when Airborne was not in Grand Prix. I could tell I had a Grand Prix horse, but I needed that help from a top professional like George Morris to make the Grand Prix. And I mean, George Morris, of course, he's a legend of the sport. You can't find a more knowledgeable person, a more complete horseman than George. And George used to ride him. I have videos of George riding him, and I think I'm gonna, at some point in the documentary, I'm gonna show these videos because it was very interesting. And when I first came to George, the first time he saw Airborne, I was at his place at Hunterdon, and we had a school, not a big school, you know, maybe 1.10 meters, small school, but we saw the horse, and he looked at me, and I mean, I don't know if you know George Morris, but the people that know George Morris, he never says something unless he really means it, you know. And when he saw Airborne, he says, you got a very special horse here. He could tell right from the beginning this was a very special horse. And George would ride him, and George would do magic with him. I mean, he could do some things with him. It was amazing. I mean, he schooled him to such a degree that the horse, he could easily do a dressage test. I mean, George had him doing tempi changes. He almost had him doing piaffe, but he had him cantering, collected canter. I mean, the horse was wonderful with George. Responded really well. And George is the epitome of the classical writing. So Airborne he would make art with Airborne. It would be an artistic, for sure, an artistic show to see George riding Airborne. It was magnificent, and I have videos, and I will post them. In time, I will post them even though it's in Spanish. I think you'll enjoy watching these videos. And now, as far as Airborne's offspring, and I must say, Airborne is or was a son of Abdullah. Okay, and I didn't ride, but I met several sons of Abdullah, and they all had kind of similar traits. Now, Airborne was for sure a big league horse. You know, he could jump a World Grand Prix. The other horses that I met that were sons of Abdullah or daughters of Abdullah, they didn't have that ability to jump that high, but they were all very nice. They were all very, very, very nice. So I think Abdullah has a lot to do with it. Abdullah, Conrad Humfeld used to ride Abdullah, and also I had the privilege of talking to him. He saw Airborne, and he really liked Airborne. He said he really reminds me of Abdullah, even though his style is a little different. Abdullah jumped a little bit upside down. Now Airborne was super round. As you can see in the videos, he had a classical style, knees up, his hind legs to the back, very long back. And but the way to ride him and his attitude was similar to Abdullah. I also had one time a comment in the Pan American Games. Michael Matz, he said at some point he said, this horse reminds me of Gem Twist. Now there's no relation between Airborne, Abdullah, Airborne with Gem Twist, but he commented, that was an interesting comment. He reminds me of Gem Twist because of the brilliance of this horse. So anyway, from the point of view of me riding him, my point of view from riding him, it was a delight. It was an easy horse to ride, easy horse, you know, great connection. Now I must say, you know, to me it was a big surprise when the horse went to Michel Robert. After I had him, he went to Michel Robert. The horse didn't work so well. He didn't go well. He didn't go too well with Michel Robert. So then they changed the horse to Bosti, Roger E. Bost. On Roger E. Bost, he had some success with the horse, but the horse didn't look the same. Everybody commented. Nelson Pessoa, George Morris, you know, they all commented to me. They said the horse doesn't look the same. He doesn't look the same. With me, he looked magical, and I don't compare myself to Michel Robert or to any of these riders. I mean, but I think Airborne and I had a magical connection. Something happened where we had a magical connection. And this connection, I consider it sacred, and I think anybody who can have this connection with a horse, with a son of Airborne, I think they'll find pearls in the bag, so to speak. So anyway, the offspring of Airborne, I had a little bit of experience with the offspring of Airborne. I had one called Agua Fuerte, and he was a very nice horse, not the superstar that Airborne was, but nice horse, very nice horse, very pleasant to ride, very easy to ride. Eventually, he got sold to a girl who rode him quite successfully, not in the Grand Prix level though. So then I saw there was a very, very nice son of Airborne that was of Francisco Pasquel, and did the Grand Prix. That horse did the Grand Prix, and he was very good, very, very good. I wouldn't say he was a world-class Grand Prix, but he was a national Mexico Grand Prix top horse. Super careful, super easy, super honest. So I think, I think we just haven't had a son of Airborne that has fallen into the right hands, that has the talent and has fallen into the right hands to be projected worldwide. My dear teacher, friend, mentor, Joe Farges used to say, you know, maybe you have the best horse in the world, but if he's not in the right hands, you'll never know he's the best horse in the world. So I think a little bit that's what's happened with the offspring of Airborne is the breeders need to find the right rider, the correct rider. But anyway, they're very generous horses. I saw several of them. Not they didn't go through me, but I saw them with many people. They were all very generous horses. I think that comes from the Trajaner. The Trajaner horse has been selected and bred to have the most wonderful character and wonderful personality. Not personality, yeah, character and temperament and character. The Trajaner breed has been focused on the character and the temperament of the horse, and I think that Airborne had those qualities for sure. He had a lot of the Trajaner qualities coming from Abdullah. Even though Airborne's mother was a Hanoverian, Diana, she was a Hanoverian, and that was a motive of big polemic. When I was in Germany, I couldn't call Airborne a Trajaner because he had Hanoverian, and I couldn't call him a Hanoverian because he had Trajaner. For some reason, at that point, they were in a fight, the two stud books. So he was neither a Trajaner nor a Hanoverian. But the truth is, he had both bloods. He had both bloods, Trajaner and Hanoverian. And I think the Trajaner traits of temperament and character, for sure, Airborne had. And I saw a lot of offspring of Airborne that had those traits, which is extremely generous horses. Horses that will forgive mistakes, horses that will be consistent, that will be sound, that will be a pleasure to ride. Not rugged, And so anyway, I hope this video is helpful. If you want more information, I'll be happy to do it, and I will make sure I send you directly the link when we have more videos on Airborne, because I posted some of the videos of the Pan American Games, but I have tons of videos of the beginnings of Airborne, and we're going to start with that. Soon we're going to have videos of the very beginning, so you can appreciate how he developed, how he started. I think that'll be fun. It'll be fun for me because I'll remember my past with him, which was very special in my life, and it'll be fun for you because you'll see how he developed into this big superstar. So anyway, until next time, thank you for your message.